Okay, everybody, this is the second part to our lecture on sale contracts. There was 2 questions in that previous lecture. Alright, when I asked the question in the sale contract, must ownership title be physically transferred? Must the thing that you buy, the property that you buy, be physically delivered, into your hands before there can be a sale contract or not, and why? Right? Why yes, it must be delivered. Why not? It doesn't have to be delivered. Also, there's a second question there, which is the flip side of it. Right? From the purchaser's point of view, okay, must actual payment of the purchase price be made? Must the money be actually transferred into the hands or into the bank account of the seller before there can be a sale contract? Alright, and I'm not referring to, again, just to remind you again, I'm not referring to the sale of any particular kind of property as yet, or thing as yet, whether it's movable or immovable. We are not talking about that yet. We're just here trying to deepen your understanding on the theory of sale contract first. The answer to those 2 questions, I hope you already got prepared answer, okay, or some form of a prepared answer. If not, you won't be able to follow this part. So if you haven't got some form of a prepared answer, I suggest you press the pause button right now. Write some sort of an answer to those 2 questions in the previous lecture, and then come and continue to play from this point onwards. Okay, the answer to those 2 questions. Actual physical delivery of the purchased thing or purchased property into the hands of the purchaser is not necessary in order to make or to constitute or to form a sale contract. Not necessary for actual physical delivery of the thing or physical transfer of ownership, title transfer. Not necessary. It is also not necessary for the actual physical payment of the purchase price or money, if the purchase price is in money. Alright, it is not necessary for the actual payment of the purchase price to get into the hands of the seller in order for there to be a sale contract. Not necessary. Now why? Why are the answers like that for these 2 questions? No need for actual delivery of the purchased property to get into the hands of the purchaser in order for there to be a sale contract being formed. No need for the actual physical payment of purchase price to get into the hands of the seller in order for there to be a sale contract being formed. Why no need? Now listen carefully. The reason is more important than the answer itself, especially for what we are aiming at, which is international sale and purchase contract. In the theory of the sale contract, the answer to those 2 questions is there's no need for actual delivery of the thing, no need for actual physical payment of the purchase price, because the sale contract has been formed from the moment the offer and acceptance of the sale contract has been made. Offer and acceptance of the sale contract is, I'll write it here. The seller says to the purchaser, I sell you my car for $300,000. 300,000 baht. And the purchaser says, okay, I buy. These two already, just like that, already form the sale contract. No need for the actual delivery of the car to go across to the purchaser. No need for actual payment or transfer of money or payment of the check by the purchaser to the seller. No need for that. Why? In theory, we say, because the offer and acceptance has been made already. Right? But practically, it has to be like that. Why? Because, think about it. Think ahead a little bit. If you say this too is not enough, if you say that these two are not enough to make a sale contract, then what would happen if the seller does not deliver the car to the purchaser after this point in time? After they say to each other, I sell you my car for 300,000 baht, okay, I buy. After this point, the seller does not deliver the car. What would the purchaser be able to do? Claim for a breach of contract? Well, you say there is no contract because there's no physical delivery of the car yet. Right? Or if the car has been delivered to the purchaser, right? But the purchaser doesn't pay. What can the seller do? Claim for a breach of contract. Inform the purchaser that there is a breach of contract. The purchaser can turn around and say, can the purchaser turn around and say, there is no contract. Why? Because I haven't paid the money. You see what I mean? There is no need for the actual physical delivery of the purchased property. There is no need for the actual physical delivery or payment of the purchase price in order to form a sale contract. These two, just the seller saying, I sell you my car for baht, 300,000 baht here in our example. And the purchaser says, okay, I buy. Not okay, I will buy. Okay, I buy. Look carefully. This two is already enough to complete a sale contract. Just like that. It has to be like that in theory. Because so that if the physical delivery doesn't get delivered, if the physical payment of the money doesn't get paid or the money doesn't get transferred, then the party to the contract can go and claim for a breach of contract. Because the contract has already been formed. You see? If not, then the seller can always say, oh, I haven't delivered the car. No contract formed. But the purchaser can say, oh, I haven't paid you the money. No sale contract form. Because in order to claim for a breach of contract, there must be a contract first, right? So this is why in the law, in the theory of the law on sale contract, the sale contract is formed just like that. Or they call complete sale contract. In your book, starting from pages 39 up to page 43. Page 39 up to page 43, they talk about the 4 kinds of sale contract. It's actually can be easily summarized into 3 kinds. This is why I put 3 kinds instead of 4. Okay, because the second and the third kind is much the same in terms of the theory, as you will see quite soon. So this is why I just summarize it into 3 instead of 4. Okay, they are pages 39 to page 43 of chapter 4. Alright. The differences in each of them is quite subtle. If you read the book, if you read the book before listening to this lecture, I think many of you would be quite confused with the language. Now, it's not because I'm trying to be confusing. It's because the way the law presents itself in the CCC comes across like that. Alright, but if you think about it, if you understand the differences between each of the kinds, alright, you will see the differences. This is why there is the purpose of this particular lecture, to summarize it in the easier understanding form of pages 39 to 43 of the book. Alright, so this is the first kind, or they call a complete sale contract, or in Thai they call สัญญาซื้อขายเศษเด็ดขาด Alright, สัญญาซื้อขายเศษเด็ดขาด. A complete sale contract. I sell you my car for 300,000 baht. Okay, I buy. Sale contract has already been formed. The ownership title, listen carefully. The ownership title has been considered transferred. Past tense. The payment of the purchase price has been considered made. Past tense. Just like that. The actual physical delivery of the car, the actual payment of the purchase price is what they call เงื่อนไขของสัญญา or the condition to the sale contract. Condition to the sale contract. เงื่อนไขของสัญญา เงื่อนไขของสัญญา Condition to the sale contract. But the sale contract has already been formed. The sale contract has already been formed. Okay? You could say the delivery. Say for example, you have delivery of property by a certain date. Alright? Or payment, alright, of purchase price, ชำระราคาซื้อขาย by a certain date. These are all just เงื่อนไข conditions to the sale contract. The sale contract has already been formed. The date for delivery of the thing, the property, the date for payment of the purchase price, these are just conditions to the contract. It has to be like that, as I explained earlier. Because if this doesn't get performed, the damaged party can claim for the breach of sale contract. If the property doesn't get delivered by the date, right, the purchaser can claim for the breach of a sale contract. If the purchase price doesn't get paid, the seller can claim for a breach of the sale contract. Because the contract has already been formed here. The delivery of the property, the payment of the purchase price by which date, okay, sometimes you have even the payment method, how the money is going to be paid, by bank transfer, by a letter of credit as you study import export trade. Alright, these are just เงื่อนไขของสัญญา conditions of the contract. Conditions of the contract. The contract has already been formed. Okay? You could say that this is if you look at it in a kind of a very basic practical way, you could say that this is the computer and this is just the mouse. Alright? This is just attached to it. Alright? This the mouse cannot stand alone. The condition cannot be standing alone. It needs a computer to function. So the computer must be formed first. The computer must be there. The notebook must be there first. Otherwise, the mouse is useless. All this condition is useless if the contract has not been formed yet. And when is the contract formed? It's here. Alright, so this is the second kind of contract, a contract with condition. Examples of this, further examples of this, you could see from the book, pages 39 to 43. Please read it. Alright, now we come to the third kind. Now in the book, this is divided into sale contract with condition, สัญญาซื้อขายแบบมีเงื่อนไข and there's another one in the book is called sale contract with time condition, สัญญาซื้อขายแบบมีเงื่อนไขเวลา They are in theory the same. They are both sale contract with condition. Alright, they're both sale contract with condition. The theory is the same. Alright. Okay, there is another third kind of contract there in the book. And this begins from pages, let me have a look at it. It starts from pages 41 to 43. Page 41 to 43 of your book. Okay, to sell and to buy immovable property contract. Now before we go to immovable first, let's talk about the theory of this kind of contract. The to sell and to buy contract is not a sale contract. Let me repeat, listen carefully. To sell จะขาย and to buy จะซื้อ contract is not a sale contract at all. Then why is it in this chapter, Ajahn? I didn't put it there. If you look at the CCC, the Civil and Commercial Code, this contract is provided under the chapter on sale. That's why that's why in my book it's also under the chapter on sale. Okay, I try to present it as closely to the CCC as possible so that people can refer to it easily. But if you look at it in the theory of it, even in the practical of it, it is not a sale contract at all. Why? Okay. Because, to put it in a very simple answer, this is a contract of promises. Promises. คำมั่น promises. A contract of promises. เป็นสัญญาให้คำมั่นกัน Alright, to give you a practical example, the one that is very common nowadays. Let's put a timeline, because when we want to talk about promise, there has to be a timeline. Let's say we begin from today. This is today in terms of the time. This is today. Okay, and the timeline starts from today and it goes and it goes and it goes. And let's say it goes until this day. Alright. And let's say this is the March 1, the 1st of March next year. Okay, March the 1st next year. The promises made between two parties to the contract is made to each other today. The to sell, not sell, not sell yet. Take note. This is the most important thing. There is no sale. There is a promise to sell. จะขาย ไม่ใช่ขาย Right? There's a promise to sell made by the seller to the buyer or the purchaser today. There is a promise to buy. จะซื้อ not ซื้อ จะซื้อ to buy. Alright? Made by the purchaser to the seller today. So what happens today, right, are just a promise from the seller, right, to sell, okay, and purchaser's promise to buy. All right, there's no sale and purchase today, which means there is no ownership title transfer. There is no payment of the purchase price today. All that has taken place today are just promises made to each other. To sell something, to buy something. When? March the 1st. March the 1st is when the sale contract would take place, would be formed. The ownership title, alright, the ownership title and the payment of the purchase price is made on March the 1st. There is no sale contract here. Today is just promises made to each other. It's very much in the same concept of a wedding, a marriage. The marriage happens at a particular time in the future. Right? The engagement is a promise. Is a promise made to each other today. Right? I will marry you on this day, on this time. I will marry you on this day, on this time. There is no marriage today. The marriage takes place at a future time. The registration of the marriage takes place at a future time as well. Right? A typical example would also be what is more common in the business sense. If you don't like the marriage example, okay, it could also be in the situation of what is called a memorandum of understanding, or they call an MOU, a memorandum of understanding. The memorandum of understanding, what is that? It's the same kind of concept as a promises contract or contract or promises. Each party express certain kind of promises to each other that I will do this, I will do that, I will do this, I will do that. The other party will also say, yes, I will do this, I will do that. But they all do not take place today. They take place completely in the future. Right? Except that to sell and to buy a contract, the sale takes place here. Maybe in this kind of a contract, the MOU says certain things to take place during this time. Okay, maybe next week, next month, and the following month, and the month after that, and the weeks after that. You keep going until everything gets performed by this day. Everything stated in this promise contract. Or they use the word memorandum of understanding, MOU. Okay? So there is an offer and acceptance. There is a contract form. But it's not a sale contract. It is a contract of promises. Theoretically, why there is no sale contract? Well, where is the ownership title transfer? This is the most important question. Because it distinguishes to sell and to buy contract comparing to these two. The key distinction, this is why I have this line here. This line represents a difference between this and this. The key difference is, for this, there is no ownership title transfer when the contract is made. Ownership title transfer is only made here. Yes, on March 1st, there will be another contract signed. This contract is the sale contract. The sale contract is not signed today. It's signed here. This is when the purchase price gets fully paid and the ownership title of the thing gets transferred, or the property gets transferred. Today, there's no sale contract as yet. So, the difference between สัญญาจะขายและจะซื้อ or in Thai they prefer to say the other way around จะซื้อและจะขาย I don't know why they want to say it the other way around, because logically you should sell first then buy, not buy first then sell, right? Okay, the difference between this kind of contract and this two is ownership title transfer. There is no ownership title transfer for this kind of contract. Okay. All right. And certainly there's no payment of the purchase price yet. The payment of the purchase price will be fully paid on this date. March the 1st. Not today. All right. Now, there's one other thing. There's one other small point, but it's also very important. And that is if you look at page 39, right, of my book, 41, sorry, page 41 of my book, it says to sell and to buy in movable property contract. And there's a little asterisk there. Right, and it says the asterisk means this kind of sale contract is applicable to only immovable properties, ships or vessels of 6 tons and over, steam launches or motorboats of 5 tons and over, floating houses and beasts of burden, for example, an elephant. This is a unique situation in Thailand. Right, in the commercial laws of Thailand, this kind of to sell and to buy contract can only be used for immovable thing only. In other words, you can only make a to sell and to buy immovable thing contract only. It can't be used for to sell and to buy a car or a movable thing. It can't be done in Thailand. Right? Why? The law, the Civil and Commercial Code says that there's a section in the Civil and Commercial Code. Here, I wrote it here, paragraph 2 of section 456 of the Civil and Commercial Code. Alright, paragraph 2 of section 456 of the Civil and Commercial Code. It says that the seller and the purchaser can enter into a to sell and to buy immovable thing contract. Now that section is silence on whether the seller and the purchaser can enter into a to sell and to buy movable thing contract or not. It's silent on that. It just said that the seller and purchaser can enter into a to sell and to buy immovable thing contract. That's it. So what about movable? It's not provided there. So legally speaking, if you go directly applying the law, you can't use this kind of contract to make promises to sell movable thing contract. Okay? If you want a practical example to this kind of contract, besides an MOU, something more you see every day, right? You travel along the roads and sometimes you see many posters about condominium project, right? หมู่บ้าน housing estate project that is going to be developed. Right? And if you're interested in buying any of these condominiums that is going to be built, not built yet, going to be built, right? Or any of these หมู่บ้าน or housing estate projects that is going to build, the houses are going to be built. Then you go to the developer and you sign the contract there. That contract, in the eyes of the law, is not a sale contract. Although sometimes the developer would like to use the word ซื้อสัญญาซื้อขาย. In the meaning of the law, in the theory of the law, in the meaning of the law, even in the eyes of the law, that is not a sale contract. Because there's no ownership title transfer. What is there to transfer? The condominium hasn't been completed. The housing estate, the house, hasn't even been built, completely built yet. Right? So what is the contract you're signing with them today? They like to call it sometime by Jong a reservation contract. Sometimes they like to call it a sale contract. In the eyes of the law, it is this kind of contract. A contract of promises to sell and to purchase. Right? The sale of the condominium, the sale of the house and the land doesn't take place until the time when the condominium unit is built. The condominium building is built, the unit is built, the house is built. Then you have the sale contract. But that doesn't take place today. It takes place at a future date. Alright, that's a practical example for you. Another practical example for you besides the MOU. Okay, that's all for this part on the kinds of sale contract.